Bro,
What you got?
how often does compassion come up in business books?
That's a great question. I would love to answer that, but I've never read any.
Well, I've read a decent amount of business books, and a lot of them have this theme that, like, these CEOs are like moguls.
Yeah, the real estate tycoon.
Yeah,
who's
alpha male.
makes the deal at any cost. Steps
Yeah.
on the graves of his enemies.
Yeah, what was that character? What was his name? Scrooge?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like do whatever for another penny,
Yeah, which makes no sense, right? Like, because
Yeah.
then what? You just die alone?
Isn't that what happened to
A
him?
sad old duck?
A sad old duck.
Hey, you sad old duck.
Well, today we're going to talk about how compassion is not only the opposite of the Scrooge,
But we actually found some interesting studies that support being compassionate instead of being a ruthless psychopath in the workplace.
yeah,
So-
yeah. There's we'll drop that you make more money,
Yeah,
you're happier.
yeah. They followed these. What was the study? They followed these people for 30 years.
Yeah,
Pretty wild.
yeah. I wonder if they followed the miserable old ducks to see if they died alone.
I don't know. We know their fate.
All right, let's dig in.
Let's do it. It was down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jonathan Noel.
And I'm Brandon Well,
This is the Focus Cast.
where we help remove distractions
Increase focus.
so we can live a life with intentions.
Intentions.
Christian, our new intern with us in the studio today, producing. Christian, do you want to live a life with intention? He said yes.
That's amazing. Hey,
know, I'm so
now I feel like, how Joe Rogan always talks about young Jamie.
Yeah.
Now we can shout out Christian.
Young Christian.
Yes. So, bro, we're talking about compassion,
Yeah.
and focus, or compassion in the workplace.
Yeah. The benefits thereof.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I found some pretty interesting. There's some obvious stuff. Obviously, no one wants their boss to treat them like dirt,
I don't.
but we found some interesting studies where they followed, a group of people
Yeah.
for a significant number of years, and turns out being more compassionate had better outcomes.
Oh, man.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So what is compassion?
According to the Oxford definition, thanks to young Googs that I found, sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others.
Interesting. So when you're thinking about the sufferings and concerns of others, I guess you're not only thinking about yourself.
Right. You feel it.
Yeah.
You feel the suffering.
Yeah. Which I guess that's where the that concept of empathy comes in.
Yeah.
So I like that.
I think I was reading a paragraph because they were breaking down empathy versus compassion.
Yeah.
But they basically were saying empathy plus action is compassion. Because you can have empathy and not do anything, but when you combine those two, empathy and action, then you have compassion.
That makes total sense. Yeah,
So
because you can
you're
feel how someone else feels and then be like, that sucks.
And I do it all the time. I do it all the time when I'm driving past all the tents in Atlanta.
Yeah. It's like,
So
damn,
I'm
that
like,
sucks. I guess the majority of us, as we become more aware of things, we may have more empathy, but I don't know if posting something on Instagram constitutes action.
right. Posting on Instagram and saying someone else needs to do something about this problem.
Yeah.
And then acting like you're getting empathy clout.
Yeah. So I saw a video. This is sad, funny, sad. But there was this protest in Europe about letting refugees in. So this guy was going to
I saw this.
protesters
Yes, I saw
and
it.
saying, hey, I'm creating a list of housing for refugees to go stay in. Can we put your name down? And now they may have edited out the few that said yes.
I do wonder about that, but
But the majority said, I can't, I rent, I don't have space.
the excuses were off the charts.
Yeah.
I don't have space.
Yeah. So where the hell are all the refugees going to go if people with 5 bedrooms don't open up their house?
Yeah, they just want the government to deal with it.
Yeah.
They want to yell about it and make it someone else's problem.
Yeah. I guess I don't know if that's empathy or compassion.
That's
That's
brainwashing.
yeah.
I don't know.
That's yeah. I mean, what is that when you're just so oblivious to you're protesting for something yet
That you don't actually care about.
yeah,
but
I
you're
mean,
doing
you
it
care
because
about it, but you're unwilling to do anything personally in regards to the solution.
at least donate to like a fund or a charity that's trying to provide housing or something.
Yeah, something. I don't. Anyway,
Whatever. So how does this relate? So, bro, how does this relate kind of in the workplace for leaders / employers?
Yeah, so it's interesting because before we hit some of these stats, I was thinking about this episode, and I feel like we kind of go back and forth in our minds, right? Because there's mixed messages in our culture. Like one day we'll wake up and be like, I'm gonna be a compassionate person,
Yes.
and then like you get burnt or something happens, and then you're like, well, I guess I just have to be a hard ass. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, some people are just complete absolute assholes.
Yeah.
Some people seem to be very compassionate, but I think the majority of us kind of float in between,
Oh, absolutely.
based on energy levels, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which is pretty fascinating. But
Yeah.
but I think it's like, I don't know. I think it's more of a daily thing than it is like you either are compassionate or not.
It's definitely not a on-off switch.
Yeah.
It's like everything. There's a lot of gray area.
Yeah, and kind of choosing. So these are some stats that if today you're listening to this podcast and you're making a choice of whether you're going to be compassionate or not, or at least strive to be compassionate, maybe
Yeah.
these stats will help you. So a survey by Harvard Business Review found that employees who felt their managers showed compassion were more likely to report higher levels of job satisfaction, commitment.
This one's pretty like
loyalty.
obvious and duh, but
Yeah.
just throwing it in there because
We needed Harvard to go study it for us to go, oh, I guess I should be more
they
compassionate.
needed the money for the study. So they're like, hey, this is really important.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's pretty obvious. That's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
The rest of them are, a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
But obviously, no one wants to be treated like dirt.
yeah.
I was working for this company, a lot of Eastern Europeans, and there was one psycho guy. And after a couple of years, I was working with a lot of my friends. We pretty much just all quit in the same year. We pretty much just all said, fuck this.
Yeah.
And the upper management, like, obviously are not stoked about that, but there was definitely a disconnect. They just didn't know that they have one manager
It was terrible.
that was terrible.
Yeah, I read a stat somewhere, I don't remember, but I think it was over 80% of people quit because of their direct report,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Not the values, not the pay, not the CEO, none of that stuff. It was purely the direct report, which makes sense.
Which makes sense. So if you do have lots of employees,
Yeah.
you got to, honestly, seems like you got to keep a magnifying glass on the management
You would think.
because they're the ones who determine whether your employees stay or not, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, low retention is a sign of a bad manager. And when a manager constantly blames their employees in a leadership meeting, then
Come
that's
on.
a sign
That's
that
scum status.
that guy's a worthless piece of
That's
shit.
That's scum status.
Why did you not hear your numbers? Well, I mean, I just don't have good employees.
It's always someone else's fault, right?
It's always someone else's fault.
Yeah, no accountability. I love that. So this is an interesting study.
Yeah.
So this is a Canadian study. They assessed the personality traits of nearly 3,000 kindergartners. They followed them for 30 years.
This is crazy.
They found that among men, and this is independent of IQ and family background, those who showed the most kindness to others in kindergarten had significantly higher annual earnings compared to those who were more aggressive and oppositional.
So they studied them in kindergarten
Yeah.
and then followed them for 30 years.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, what was I like in kindergarten?
I don't really remember kindergarten.
I do have one memory of kindergarten. I had to pee really bad, and the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I just peed in my seat.
You know what? Your pee story reminds me of a pee story.
Oh,
in
yeah?
kindergarten.
Okay.
And apparently, I'm one of these horrible kids in kindergarten because I went to use the bathroom and I watched another kid pull his pants down all the way to pee. And my buddy and I laughed at him and he started crying.
Oh, bro.
It's messed up, I know.
You jerk.
Hey, at the time, I didn't feel bad.
Hold
but
on. Did you laugh first or did your friend laugh first?
I don't remember that. So anyway, I think by the time you're that age, I thought no one was pulling their pants down all the way, but then someone did, and we laughed at them, and they started crying. I do feel bad about that.
Now in high
Whoever
school,
that is, I'm sorry.
yeah, now in high school, it's a pro move. You go to the urinal and put your pants all the way down, you're a fucking boss.
I guess. I don't remember seeing that in high school.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So not only I've been made fun of.
Yeah.
And there's some times where I was like severely made fun of, and it hurt.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was reading in class one time, and a kid in the class said, "No wonder you're in the dumb reading class." Oh, it hurt, man.
Oof.
In front of the whole class too.
Yeah,
I was
that's tough.
standing up reading, and I was fumbling over some words, and literally another kid said that out loud, and no one laughed.
Yeah.
Because this was when I was in my like druggy, edgy phase. So
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Is he gonna murder that person?" But honestly, I just crumbled.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
And
That age is tough when people are like,
oh yeah, it was middle school.
oh, gosh.
Impressionable years.
Oof.
There was
yeah.
a girl in there I liked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Gosh, it keeps getting worse.
In elementary school, she had glasses and all this braces, and then she walked into middle school with no braces and no glasses, like a fucking princess.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to, court her.
Yeah.
And show her how manly I was, and then I just got
made fun of for reading.
Yeah, I got my intellectual knees cut out from under me.
Gosh. Oh, it hurts. I feel the pain
yeah.
now.
Yeah, but all that to say,
Look at you now.
all that to say, I've never been made fun of with my pants all the way down. And that sounds pretty freaking bad, bro.
Listen, I don't remember who that was, but if you remember it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Seriously, I am. Legitimately.
I can't imagine being made fun of. Anyway.
All
right, so back to 30 years. So you they made more money.
They made more money. So being a person who is willing to help the team and not be a ruthless, prick about it, they had higher earnings.
So I guess we'll keep hitting the stats, but that begs the question. Good thing that we can change our brains.
Yes.
And if you were a jerk, you can change.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah. Gosh. Thank goodness for that.
So here's another study, bro. You want to hit this one?
Yeah. In a longitudinal study from the University of California, Berkeley's Haas School of Business, the authors used validated research scales to assess the personality traits of people entering the labor market. And after 14 years in this study, gosh, everything is like, we want it now. But these people that do these decade-long
Shout out to the people doing the studying.
I know, for decades. Talk about some patience. Anyway, after 14 years of controlling for demographic and corporate factors, those who were selfish, aggressive, and manipulative were less likely to move up the ranks.
Yep.
You know that phrase where we all say, kind of this victim phrase, why do the bad guys always win? Well, statistically speaking,
according to this,
they do not.
It probably depends on the culture of the business.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
But and then less likely to move up the ranks. Instead, those who were generous and agreeable were more likely to be promoted to positions of power.
That sounds like brown nosing, though. Now I'm roasting them.
Now you're roasting them. Yeah, you're just walking in on them with their pants down. Brown noser.
What's the movie with Adam Sandler where he starts calling all the people that he made fun of in high school? And then Steve Buscemi, I think it was gonna he has a list of people he's gonna kill.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And marks them off the list.
Yes. His kill wall.
Yeah. Listen, I was kind of a bully sometimes in high school.
Yeah.
It was not cool.
See, there's people that say I was an asshole, but I don't think I was a bully. I think I just was kind of like
keeping
off
to
of my
yourself, doing your
my little.
You had your streak.
Had my little depressed. I wore combat boots and trench coats and.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I was one of those. I think it was more like
people were worried about you.
He might kill you.
People were nervous around you.
Yeah.
Now you're wearing Yeezys and what's the other brand? The awesome shoes?
Off-White.
Oh, I love those.
Off-White Yeezys. My Apartment 4B and Adidas collab. Shit, bro.
Come on now. All right, so they followed some studies
for
a number of years. looks like in this one, this is from University of Warwick, they found employees who receive small acts of kindness, such as thank you notes or compliments, are more productive and have higher job satisfaction.
So you mean it doesn't have to be like this whole personality change thing? Like it can just be little moments of kindness.
Exactly. And hopefully people are good at sniffing it out, but the point is not to make it fake, you know?
Yeah.
Like, here, make a bunch of fake, we don't actually care, thank you notes and send them out, you know?
Thank you for working so hard of your 4 years employment. Tomorrow is your last day. You've done a great job.
It's Fortune 500 status.
Yeah, it really is. I will give you a referral letter in 2 weeks' pay. A study published in the Journal of Pediatrics in 2018 found that medical trainees reported high levels of emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, which are indicators of burnout and a lack of compassion. So this is pretty interesting.
That's just kind of getting into okay, we can talk about all the great things, but in the real world, people are tired.
Yeah.
You burn out.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have compassion when you're burnt out. If your needs, if you're not thriving, you're just surviving, you're in survival mode, how are you supposed to care about anyone else?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Right.
I'm not saying that you're a piece of shit,
Right.
you know?
It's just being introspective to be aware of that. But if you're starving, right?
Oh, dude, if I'm starving, I don't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
That's just a fact
your
of life.
Your brain goes into this tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And it's like no other human exists. You have to get food.
I'm not demonizing anyone
Yeah.
who's not compassionate. I'm not even sure I'm compassionate.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm trying to work towards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But it's what I love about that study is it's something that we can be conscious of, aware of. And, it's like, unfortunately, our families get the end of us each day, Like you go to
that's
work.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, you go to work and you give all of your energy away. And then by the time you get home, you're just tired.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, so you don't show a lot of compassion for your family, which is sad.
Because you're a burnout at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, those people that love us the most and stand behind us the most
you're around them
the leftovers
when they're the most tired.
Yeah. So we should change that.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's actually messed up.
Yeah. Well, it's probably
By
all
design.
by design.
Different podcast.
Yep.
So it's hard to have compassion when you're burnt out.
Yeah.
But let's hit some of the positive, literally physically mental effects of having compassion if you're working towards that.
I like it.
This is from Harvard Business Review as well. Rigorous research supports that being a giving, others-focused person is linked with longer life and can buffer the effects of stressful events on mortality risk.
That makes sense.
So caring about others,
Yeah.
having a sense of purpose, extends your life.
Wow. So do you want to die early,
A settled duck,
settled duck,
settled Scrooge thing.
or do you want to live a nice, long life?
I think this goes like our grandparents, Babch and Jaja.
Yeah.
They had their community.
Yeah.
They had their church.
Yeah.
They had their friends they were still playing card games with in their 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a community and they lived a long time.
Yeah.
And they were happy.
Yeah.
And they were still mentally sharp.
Yeah. How old was Jaja when he died?
98.
98. And he was cutting the grass in South Georgia heat up until his like late 80s.
With bad arthritis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
So no excuses.
No excuses. I mean, Babcha made squash casserole
she's
to the month she died.
Fucking cooking for
30
a whole
people.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. So specifically, kindness can reduce risk factors for cardiovascular disease, including counteracting high blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, if you're stressed out, you feel that heart racing,
Yeah.
your body's dying, take a breath, show some compassion and some kindness. Kindness and compassion may also help us maintain vitality and cognitive function as we age.
So here's what I'm seeing as we're reading these. Does compassion really have these effects, or is it being in a state where your needs are met and you can even have compassion already means you're in a more
Yeah.
healthier state of existence?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talked about in grounded. We talked about in vibration. We talked about all these things like being jealous.
Low
All these
vibration
things
shit.
just suck the life out of you.
Oh yeah, stress, chronic stress,
Suck
worry,
it right out of you.
gossiping, negative energy.
Yeah. All that
It's so much wasted energy.
bullshit. So what are some solutions, bro? How can we be more compassionate? I want to live a nice long life.
I want
of
to be
vitality.
playing card games when I'm 95.
Yeah, I want to be jamming. I want to be mountain biking.
I want to be still,
in my 80s. Is that a sound effect for
still getting it up.
still getting it up?
So
It might be a little slower than that by the time you're late 80s.
I can't do a
It might be more
slow
like
pop sound. Let's talk about a full functioning member of society still. Yeah, mountain biking. Are you kidding me? Hikes, working in the garden,
oh yeah.
all of that.
Oh yeah. So how do we do it?
So they did a meta-analysis, and the research showed that gratitude makes us more others-focused and motivates us to serve others. So
I mean,
being
that makes
thankful
sense.
for what you have
Yeah. And
Can-
grateful for what you've received. Yeah.
can help you care about humanity.
Yeah. It's really weird that like the way we enter into this world, we would be dead in a couple of months if we didn't receive care.
Yes.
But yet we transition into this mentality that we don't need anyone. Isn't that weird?
I think that's probably by design, but
Yeah.
that's kind of a silly societal thing I think that's pushed on us.
Yeah.
At least in the States.
Yeah, moving from being a tribal culture to an independent culture.
So when I see families like my friend, she's Ukrainian,
Yeah.
and like the system they have with 15 brothers and sisters helping each other.
Yeah.
You know, someone's car breaks down, group text, boom, everyone sends $100, $1,200
Done.
raised up for that whatever car part in 30 minutes.
Wow.
That's power.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a different discussion, but governments don't like power.
Yeah.
So they
When
don't.
they don't have it.
So what do you want to do? Break up the family.
Yeah.
Lone wolf. You got to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Do it by yourself. You got to, make it yours.
Yeah.
But honestly, anything great that happens, there's a team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Even the best athletes in the world have coaches.
Yeah.
No. Even like if you're the top tier at anything, you're not just out there by yourself.
Yeah.
You've got coaches.
Well, and like even these quote successful business people, like someone had to buy their shit. Like it took
Someone
more
had-
than just them.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
exactly. You think Steve Jobs was in there putting the chips in the back of the iPhone, you know?
Yeah. And then buying them himself and using them. Yeah. Anyway, it's funny. All right. So this is from Berkley. Contrary to what many may believe, compassion is considered to be like a muscle, as any other can be strengthened with relevant exercises or can deteriorate and atrophy. Is that how you use that word, atrophy?
Yeah, atrophy. You're right.
And atrophy. In other words, your capacity for compassion can expand if you so choose.
Yeah.
So back to what we said at the very beginning of this podcast. You can make a choice today. Will you choose compassion, or what's the opposite of compassion? Apathy?
I think that's the word, yeah.
Apathy.
Yeah.
Your choice.
And I think this is a good segue because we were talking about this, the caregiver or the caretaker.
Oh, yeah.
So
Who said that? Alex Stadler.
Alex Stadler.
Yeah.
So the caregiver gives themselves
Yeah.
to others at their own expense.
Yes.
And the caretaker takes care of themselves so they have the capacity to take care of others.
I think it's opposite.
It's
I think the caretaker takes on
they takes on the burden
on
of others.
The burden of others,
And-
and then they have nothing for themselves. The caregiver has enough care for themselves to give it to others.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Butchered, murdered that, but you get the idea.
Yes, but it's an amazing concept.
Yeah.
So like from a compassion or an apathy standpoint, so a lot of us in this society, we don't have boundaries.
Yes.
So we take on, and then we turn into miserable old ducks.
And then before you know it, you're just yelling at people you love.
Yeah, and you have no compassion.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'll help this person.
That's why I'm not saying not having compassion is, I'm not dogging anyone.
Right.
Because your circumstances in life, you just might not have the capacity for it right now.
Right.
But if you wanted to have the capacity for it, you can work towards that.
Yeah, you can work towards that. That's good.
Check this out, bro.
I'm ready.
John Hopkins' study found that giving just 40 seconds of compassion can lower another person's anxiety in a measurable way.
Wow, 40 seconds.
40 seconds. Hey, that's too much.
Do you think it's
In the
funny?
work.
Like, did they measure it and stop at 30? Like, how did they do that?
I don't know.
40 seconds.
40 seconds. That's not long.
But
this comes back to if you're an employer,
yeah.
like what a difference you can make.
Well, honestly, I think 40 seconds, if I'm thinking about it right, that's probably about 30 seconds to listen.
It's probably mostly just listening.
20 seconds or so.
That's what people want.
Yeah, to listen and then kind of breathe with that person to help them regulate their anxiety and their breath. And then just saying something of kindness, like a very simple sentence.
Yeah.
So someone's coming to you and they're, maybe had a super shitty morning, kid was sick or whatever, and they had to figure it all out and all this kind of stuff. And they're stressed out and they're freaking out and they're late to work and they've got this sales meeting or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they crash into you.
Yeah.
And you just listen. And
40 seconds can reduce.
Take a breath and then go, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm totally going to help you in this meeting today. We got this.
Doesn't seem like too much to ask.
Yeah. All you have to do is I guess be
human,
intentional, listen.
Yeah. Honestly, listening, I just listen to people actively and they just start telling me stuff.
Yeah.
Because it just helps them. They just feel better. They feel at ease.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they start spilling secrets and shit. But no, seriously, you honestly, most of the time you don't have to do anything but listen.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to have some crazy strategy. What am I going to say to this person?
Yeah. Or be some counselor.
How am I going to help them? Yeah.
Psychologist or just.
You don't have to. Yeah, exactly.
Just be present.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just be present.
Be present.
It's good. So one way to start working on this is notice times when you feel a lack of compassion, towards a certain group of people, Towards
the end of the day.
Yeah, towards the end of the day.
Or when you're walking by a bunch of homeless people.
Yeah, or if something goes wrong, does that trigger you to go into a non-compassionate
for sure
zone?
For sure, I've been there.
But it's just being, we say this all the time, but it's just back to being introspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, how you want to wrap this up? I think
this last bullet is the best way to wrap it up.
If burnout reduces compassion in your life, then unburn yourself, bitch.
Need we say more?
Thank you for listening to the Focus Cast. Go to youtube.com/thefocuscast and slap that subscribe button. Head to thefocuscast.com to share what you want to hear next. Go forth and be focused as boy.